those who are watching in the Eastern time zone. I know that we have people from all over the world who are watching, and today, so I just want to welcome you. My name is Lily Velez. I am a story mentor over at www.thestorytellersapothecary.com, and I teach emerging thought leaders how to build an unshakable foundation with their message, a captivating online presence for their brand, and a passionate following for their work using the power of storytelling. And that allows them to monetize their message while also increasing their influence, their impact, and their income. And this is all using the power of storytelling. So today's workshop is about how you can create irresistible offers on your sales page by using the power of storytelling. And I'm also going to be talking about little adjustments that you can make to your sales pages, as well as how to structure your sales page in the best way and in the prime way so that you can prepare your audience for that big price tag that comes at the end. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself. I know some of the people who may be watching today may be meeting me for the first time. It's so great to meet you, and I want to give you an idea of some of the things that have contributed to my experience and how I've become involved with storytelling and how I came to kind of make it a part of my message. So let's start with just telling you a little bit more about me. So I'm going to enable the screen sharing here. Okay, great. So I want to start off by showing you my website. So this is my website, www.thestorytellersapothecary.com. And just to give you an idea of what my background is, for 5 years, I was Director of Marketing and Communications for a large nonprofit in Florida. So I wrote all of the promotional and fundraising materials that resulted in raising $1.4 million in contributions, and that was within weeks. So I oversaw all of the fundraising campaigns, and I wrote all of the copy for the website, for the promotional materials, and that was just one campaign. We actually had a number of million-dollar campaigns, and they were all successful. So that's where my experience as far as professional copywriting goes. I also studied psychology. I graduated from business school. I became a certified life coach. I've interned with best-selling authors. One author that some people may be familiar with is Tobias Wolff. He was the author of This Boy's Life, which was later adapted into a movie starring Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. I have over 20 years of writing experience. I've published over 500,000 words of fiction online. To be honest, it's probably even more than that. And I'm also a contributing author to a book that's coming out this year from HarperCollins called 365 Tiny Love Challenges. I've also ghostwritten for health coaches, consulting firms, recording artists, event planners, financial advisors, you name it, I've probably ghostwritten for them. And then this is just an example of some of the places where my writing has been featured. So, I bring a lot of credentials and experience in my background. Writing has always been a part of me. In fact, I've been writing since I was 6 years old. I've always had a passion for writing and for storytelling. So it seems like a given that this is where I would end up. This is where my experience and path would bring me. But as far as what led me to start my business, it all began really with my father. So in December 2012, my father was actually diagnosed with cancer. And this is my father and I here. And he was diagnosed with cancer. Actually, it was a little bit before December. It was on Black Friday of 2012, and we were in the hospital, and it was definitely devastating news. Me and my father were very close. I considered him one of my best friends, really. We got along so well. So that diagnosis came in 2012, and it was really hard to go through. And it also served as a catalyst for big change in my life. There was two main things that I gathered from that experience. And one of them was really starting to question, is this all there is to life? My father ended up passing away just 10 months after his cancer diagnosis. So one of the things that I started to ask myself, some of the big questions were, is this all there is to life? How is it that all that we're meant to do is go to work and work a job that we may not even enjoy, that we may not even love, and go home tired, emotionally exhausted and drained, and then wake up the next morning and start all over again? But I also started to ask other questions. My dad, he had a lot of things that he never got to do. So some of the things I started to wonder was, how many people never get to live their dream lives? How many people go to their graves with unwritten novels and unspoken speeches and unled movements and unfinished works? So I started to pay a lot of attention to all of the regrets that we tend to bring with us to the grave, all of the instances in which people reach the end of their lives and realize that they never got to do the things that they wanted to do. They never got to give birth to the works that they were really passionate about. My father worked 26 years with the county, and then within a year of finally retiring, he got his cancer diagnosis. So he worked all of his life only to finally retire and never get to live his dream life. And I decided that I didn't want that to be the case for other people. So I started my own business because I wanted to help people to live their dream life. And what I initially had was a copywriting business so that I could help people communicate their messages effectively and reach people with their message and with their life-changing work and really get out there. But in the beginning, it was pretty hard because there were so many copywriters who were also in the market. And I realized quickly that I was going to have to learn how to differentiate myself. But in the beginning, I was really competing with these people. I felt like I had to talk the way that they talked. I had to write the way that they write. I had to do business the way that they did business. And it felt like such a struggle, which may be something that you might be experiencing as well in your own business. Maybe it seems so hard to differentiate yourself from your competition, to find a unique angle, to find a unique approach, and it's starting to feel like such a struggle just to get in touch with your audience, just to get people engaged with your work, just to get people interested in what you have to say. So I started to wonder, and I started to reflect on the fact that there just had to be an easier way. There had to be a better way. And that's when I discovered the power of storytelling. I started to do so much research about storytelling and how storytelling could be used to set myself apart from my competition, to raise my voice above the chaos of the crowd, to differentiate myself, and to really give myself a unique angle, and it turned out to work in my favor. In other words, I have found my blue ocean strategy. And for those who may not be familiar with blue ocean strategy, it's basically a book that helps you create uncontested market space and make your competition irrelevant. It's highly popular, and it's about finding gaps in the market that your competition is overlooking so that you suddenly become this go-to expert in your niche. So I realized that nobody in the copywriting industry was really talking about storytelling. And that's how I started to become engaged with storytelling. That's how I started to learn about all the psychology that goes behind storytelling. And I learned that this is something that people need to do as well for their own brands. People need to tell their stories, because when we tell our stories, we set ourselves apart, right? Nobody has your exact unique story. So finally, with this unique angle, with this unique approach, I was able to forever turn my back on a 9-to-5 soul-sucking job. I was able to live the life that I wanted to on my own terms, on my own schedule. I could spend as much time as I wanted with loved ones. When my dad was going through chemo treatments, there were times when I had to go into work, which I hated, because all I wanted was to spend as much time with him as possible. Well, now with my own business, I can do that. I can spend time with loved ones. I can spend time on my hobbies of reading and writing novels. I can go on vacations whenever I want. In fact, in 2 months, I'll be going on a getaway to Paris. And this is all because I found a unique angle in my story that allowed me to take a large part of the market and establish myself as a go-to expert. So I've synthesized all of that information into a course that I'm now offering. Now I teach people about how they can use storytelling in their business. And I talk all about how you can build your online presence, how you can build your unshakable foundation, and how you can build your passionate following using storytelling. You know, I consider this course part marketing training, part intro to creative writing, it's psychology 101, it's a copywriting comprehensive, it's everything all in one. And we start off with your foundation. You know, we talk about your business big picture. We develop your unique angle and approach. We learn how to find your unique voice. And that all goes into laying down the groundwork for your message. And then we go into the copywriting component, which is building your captivating online presence. I teach how to create that first impression that will enchant your readers with your homepage. I talk about psychological hooks and persuasion principles. We talk about your about page and how you can use different methods and templates for a more effective about page. And of course, one of the most important parts, the sales page, which is what we're talking about in today's workshop, we go deep into this as well. We talk about principles and formulas and psychological devices that professional copywriters use, story arcs that you need to be implementing in your sales page, psychology, and all these different things that go into an effective and compelling sales page. And then lastly, we talk about building that passionate following, developing and engineering a mouth-watering opt-in offer, also known as a lead magnet or a freebie that you give people in exchange for the email address. But we talk all about that so that you can finally get people on your email list. We talk about blogging, how you can become a better blogger, how guest blogging can add thousands to your list, how to master your editorial calendar. And then even if that's not enough, we even have more bonuses, crafting a stirring manifesto, composing landing pages, learning how to use webinars and other list building strategies to really add thousands to your list. So this is something new that I'm offering that's all about storytelling and why it's so important to use storytelling in your business. And I encourage you to check it out. Go to www.thestorytellersapothecary.com and learn more about whether or not this can be a fit for you. Because if you really want to up-level yourself in 2015, if you want to take your business to new heights, then storytelling is going to do all of that and more. So that's just a little bit more about my background and the work that I do. And again, you can visit my website at any time to learn more about it. But for the rest of this workshop, I'm going to be reviewing 14 sales pages that were submitted to me for the purpose of this workshop. And I'm going to give each sales page 3 to 5 tips that are going to drastically improve the copy, the structure, and the storytelling elements of the page. And simply by watching other people's reviews, you'll learn a great deal about how to enhance your own sales page. And then throughout each of those reviews, I'm also going to be talking about adjustments you can make in the structure of your sales page to perfectly prime your audience for when you drop that price tag. And I'm also going to talk about 5-minute tweaks along the way that you can make to your sales page for a more effective pitch. But first, before we get into all of that, I want to just briefly tell you about why storytelling is so essential when creating your online presence. Now, this is a quote from a man named Paul Zak, and he is a thought leader in the field of neuroeconomics, and that's a field that seeks to better understand human decision-making. And he's done extensive research on how emotionally charged stories actually change a person's brain chemistry. So here you see this quote: when you want to motivate, persuade, or be remembered, start with a story of human struggle and eventual triumph, because it will capture people's hearts by first attracting their brains. We also have a quote here from Mr. Abraham Lincoln, one of our lovely presidents of the United States. In order to win a man to your cause, you must first reach his heart, the great high road to his reason. So what are stories? They affect us emotionally, right? They touch us on a deep emotional level, and it feels like they're touching our heart. Well, just like Abraham Lincoln saying, if you want to persuade people, if you want to win people to your cause, if you want to attract people to the work that you do, you have to first touch their heart. And one of the best ways to touch their heart is with a story. In fact, our brains are actually wired to understand and retain stories. This is a quote from someone from Stanford talking about how our brain has evolved so much over the centuries, but we're still wired to understand and retain stories. And this is how storytelling works with our brains. Now, our brains become more active when we're listening to a story because it makes our brain work harder. Evolution has wired our brain for storytelling. And if you think about it, it's true. Whenever we hear a story, we want to relate it to one of our existing experiences, right? We might see something on Facebook or see something on Twitter. You know, that's a story. We communicate through stories. We update people about our lives. We update people about what's going on with us. When we have conversations with our friends or families, what are we doing? We're sharing stories. We're sharing our interactions. We're sharing our experiences. And as human beings, being that we're social creatures, we want to relate to the stories that we're hearing. Why do you think American Idol and all of these reality shows tell the stories and the backdrop of all of these contestants? Because they're hoping that we're going to see ourselves in these people. And when we see ourselves in people, we begin to form and establish a bond with them. If you think about a time when maybe you met somebody for the first time and you start to realize that you have so much in common, you probably most likely felt an instant affinity for that person. You felt like you'd known them forever. Why? Because you shared similar experiences. You saw yourself in their stories. So stories are so instrumental to the human experience. Another way that stories engage with our brain is that we're predisposed to think in story terms. When we tell people about our days, when we share things on social media, we're actually communicating in the form of a story. And this predisposition actually evolves and grows more and more as we mature. So we interpret our entire world through the architecture of a story. In fact, every form of entertainment in our world, whether it's a movie, whether it's a book, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a piece of music, it's actually all telling a story. And that's why we become so engaged with these forms of entertainment. It's all because of a story. Now I want to show you this image here, which is how storytelling affects the brain. So now we'll get into the actual science, because it's not just theory. There are actual things that are happening in your brain when you hear a story. For instance, neural coupling happens when you hear a story. It activates parts in your brain that allow you to turn a story into your own ideas. So that goes into seeing yourself in the story. You'll also start to mirror the story. You'll see the activity in your brain, but the speaker is also going to start to express that activity in their brain as well. There's also different areas of your brain that are activated when a well-told story is spoken. And all these areas are engaged, and suddenly you have sensory information. You start to see the images. You start to paint the pictures. All of these things are going on in your brain when you hear the story. And of course, dopamine is also going to be released whenever you hear a story, especially when it's an experience of an emotionally charged event, which makes it easier for you to remember what you're hearing, and it also allows you to recall that story with greater accuracy. But perhaps one of the greatest side effects, if you will, of storytelling is something else that's going on in your brain. Now, I mentioned Paul Zak before, the thought leader in the field of neuroeconomics, and he actually used functional brain imaging during an experiment where volunteers were shown an emotionally charged story. And what he found was that some of the regions of the brain that were most active were the areas that were rich in oxytocin. You can see these images here. What's highlighted are areas of the brain that are rich in oxytocin. And when he compared these findings to control group where volunteers watch a story with no emotional engagement, these same areas were not activated. So what he found was that emotionally charged stories cause our brain to produce oxytocin. And do you know what oxytocin is also known as? It's called the bonding hormone. In fact, a lot of times it's also known as the love hormone. This is the same hormone that's released when we're cuddling with someone that we care about. According to this graphic here, a 20-second hug releases oxytocin, which is nature's antidepressant and anti-anxiety. Now, oxytocin is also known to establish a greater sense of intimacy and attachment. It increases self-esteem. It induces feelings of optimism. It builds trust. It relieves stress. And it increases generosity. These are all things that oxytocin is known to do according to research, according to science, according to all of the studies. So imagine being able to awaken all of those feelings in your audience simply because you told your story, simply because that story brought forth an influx of oxytocin. So they would love you for it, right? What this translates to is this. You'll build trust with your audience. You'll come to be their go-to expert, thereby boosting your credibility. You'll establish a deep and meaningful connection with them because your story spoke to them. You'll hear me say this throughout this workshop, that people want to see themselves in your messaging. Because when they do, they're drawn to your work. And if you remember, I said that oxytocin causes us to be more generous. So when you speak to your audience's heart just right, you'll compel them to be more willing to invest money in the work that you do. So as you can see, storytelling can be a giant building block when laying down the foundations of your brand. So it's so essential to learn how you can use storytelling in your own branding, in your own messaging, in your business, throughout your copy, because you want to start building that emotional engagement with your audience. You want them to know that they can trust you. You want them to know that they can like you. You want to increase your likability factor. You want to establish those deep, meaningful, significant connections, because over time, that's what's going to cause and compel this person to invest in the work you do, to buy your products, to invest in your services as if it's a no-brainer with no hesitation whatsoever. It all goes down to using storytelling for your business. So now I'm going to talk about sales page structure. And I'm going to go into reviewing all of the sales pages that were submitted to me. I have 14 that are going to be up for review. So I'm going to try to move fairly quickly. And if you have any questions along the way, there is a Q&A box that I have enabled. So feel free to put in your questions in that box. Now, because I'm doing screen share, I'm not able to see the chat box right now, but at the end of the workshop, I'm going to get back into that Q&A box and I'll be able to answer all of your questions there. But along the way, again, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I want to help you in as much as I can, because I know that sometimes sales pages can be so challenging. They can be such a struggle. You know, you don't know what to put in, you don't know what to take out. So that's what this workshop is all about. And along the way, we're going to learn how to structure your sales pages accordingly, how to make those 5-minute adjustments that are easy. And we're going to learn about how storytelling plays such a vital role in your sales page. So I'm going to have a drink of water, and then we're going to jump right into our sales page review. All right, so let me just make sure. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that the volume was okay. So first we're going to get started with Bonnie Chase from bonniechase.com. I love the colors of the website, Bonnie. Very lively and energetic, but at the same time, they're calming. So I love that these colors are a part of your brand. They're beautiful and they work well together. So the first thing I noticed, Bonnie, is that you need a headline to start your sales page off on. And for everyone else who's watching and listening in, this is one of those 5-minute tweaks that you can do. It takes no more than 5 minutes to develop a compelling and effective headline. And once you do, you'll draw people in like a magnet. Now, obviously, these words tell us that your product or service has something to do with healthy thyroid living, right? But what exactly is your audience going to know or do or achieve as a result of working with you? So your headline is essentially the outcome that you're promising. Now, I have an article here that is probably one of my favorite articles about creating headlines. And for those of you who are watching, you can go ahead and just jot down this link here. There'll also be a recording to this workshop, so you can always just pause and then write it down as well. But this is a great article all about what goes into making and crafting a great headline. It has to be specific, it has to be succinct. You have to focus on one thing that your prospects believe to be highly desirable that you provide, and then you have to quickly reflect the expectations of the visitor. So this article here is going to lead you through creating an awesome headline. It's also going to give you tips on exactly how to format it. And then it's also going to give you examples. And these examples are great. So Bonnie, I think that you would really benefit from taking a look at this article. And a lot of people who are watching today, maybe you also want to improve your headline. You want to start writing more effective and compelling headlines. Definitely check out this article. It is great to help you engineer the perfect one for your website and one that's going to be really effective. So Bonnie, definitely check that out. Now, I've taken several creative writing classes, and one of the things you'll always hear in classes like that is that the very first line of your novel has to be standout and one of a kind. So in other words, it has to be an attention grabber. And, you know, I see this a lot of times when I go to bookstores. I'm a big book reader. I love books. I'm a bookworm. When I see a book that catches my interest, I'm going to open it. I'm going to read the first line. If the first line grabs me, I'm going to continue reading. But if I don't really like that first line or the first paragraph, I'm most likely going to close the book and then keep finding something else. So that's why it's so important to create a compelling headline. It's like the first line of a novel. It has to be an attention grabber. And if your first line's good, then people are going to continue reading your story. So you have to grab your audience's attention, you have to show them what kind of ride they're in for, and then you have to pull them in. So again, check out that headline resource I provided, and it'll really help you to create the perfect headline for your page. Before I go any further, I also want to say, Bonnie, good job on breaking up the text so it's bigger headlines. I see it throughout your copy, and it's a really effective strategy to use. You don't want to have a giant wall of text on your sales pages. You want to break it up and make it more readable and easy on the eyes for your audience. Now, a lot of people may do this by investing in some WordPress templates where you have block colors, and we'll see some websites like that later on. But for those of you who may not have the budget for fancy layouts or fancy templates, one effective way to break out the text, to break up the text in your pages is just by using big headlines like this. And this allows the people to see things as sections instead of one big page that they have to read. So good job with that, Bonnie. It really does help with the readability of your page. The only thing that I would say is be careful about overdoing it because you want it to look clean and uniform. So for example here, that is a lot of big text that you're using there. I would probably just get rid of 3 out of 4 of these, because you don't want to overdo it with the big, bold headlines. Again, you're really just using it as a way to break up text and to introduce new sections. Also, be careful with overusing the exclamation points. I know that when I first, well, not really, even up until a few years ago, I was using a lot of exclamation points in my reading and in my writing. And what I realized was that it was kind of minimizing the effect that an exclamation point had by overusing it. So you really, I wouldn't use it at all, but if you wanted to use it, I would do it in your most exciting piece of copy. So you're going to have to scan over your copy, decide, what is it that I really want to stand out with, and use exclamation point for that sentence. But get rid of it for all of the other areas where it's not necessarily needed. All right, now going back to the top, you do a good job of setting the scene for your ideal audience. You're capturing what it is they're experiencing, which allows them to see themselves in your copy. So great job with that. What I would suggest is to elaborate on this. So instead of asking questions, like each of these lines are questions, I'd actually just make those declarative statements. So instead of, does your family not understand why you sleep all day long and still feel like going, and still don't feel like going to the movies because you want another nap? Just say, your family doesn't understand why you sleep all day. So get rid of the questions and instead make them declarative statements. And there will be times when questions can be effective, but when you're setting a scene, you're telling a story, not hosting an interview. So you don't want to make people have to use their brain so much, right, to answer your questions. You want them to flow with ease with what you're saying. So make sure that you make your setting the scene here with their story. Again, make sure that those are declarative statements and not questions. Now here you transition to your own story, which is great. It's smooth and it works. What I would really like to see is more detail here. So you give us some facts like how you slept a great deal. You tell us that you chased after those perfect lab numbers. And those are all great, but it's really just a glimpse into what your life used to be. So in the same way that you set a scene for your audience in the beginning of the sales page, you need to give us an in-depth look at your before and after as well. So this is the before part, and we need to see your struggle, your hopelessness, your failing strength, because it's what your audience is currently feeling. And they need to see that you've walked in their shoes before. Then when you go into the after part of before after, it feels like more of a triumph. Think of a movie. If a hero accomplished his goal within the first 5 minutes of the film, we really wouldn't be interested because he didn't have to struggle. But when we do see the struggle, then we can cheer for him. So that's what you need to do in this section to endear yourself to your audience. Give us more of your backstory, more of your struggle, more of your difficulty. And also so that it won't feel like a big wall of text if you're afraid that it's going to just keep getting bigger and bigger as a paragraph. You can just break it out with pictures. So you might want to put a picture here on the left. You can put some pictures here under here. But you can just break it up with pictures. But again, make sure that you're really diving deep into that before and after. Now here's a 5-minute tweak for everyone who's watching and listening in. Now this doesn't necessarily apply to you, Bonnie, because this is a nice size button that you have here at the end of the page. But one of the ways that you can drastically improve your sales page for everyone else watching is to use a bigger buy now button. Research has shown that a bigger button can actually boost your sales. So don't just have a link or don't have a really small button. You want to have a nice size button like what Bonnie has here, and it can actually boost your sales and improve your conversions. Now, Bonnie, when you're listing out the features of your program here, make sure that you're also talking about the benefits. Now, feature is what they get. So, for instance, 45-minute coaching sessions, that's what they get. But a benefit is how it improves their life. It's the value that it adds to their life. So why are these these 5 45-minute coaching sessions important? You do a good job of doing it here. Unlimited private email support. So that's the feature. And then the benefit would be to keep you on track and fully supported. So you want to make sure that you're doing that with all of the features of your program to show people why they need and why they want what you have to offer. And then finally, Bonnie, my last tip for you is for introducing your price, it's essential to give your audience, your credentials and social proof. Now, you did mention that you were a nurse, right? So you might want to go more into that, give us more about your background and your experience. If you have testimonials from people you've already worked with, you definitely want to add those on your page. And if you've been featured in any online health publications, it'd be great to add their logos to your page as well. And this just shows people that you know your stuff, that you're qualified, that you're experienced. People really want to see those things like that, and it makes it more comfortable to them to make a big investment. For some people, this is a really big investment. So they want to see, who have you worked with before? What results have you gotten for other people? Where have you been featured? What is your experience? What are your credentials? You want to make sure that you make that a part of your sales page, because that's a part of priming people for your price tag. So those are all my tips for you, Bonnie. You have a great start here, beautiful website, and just implementing those small changes will get you on the road to an improved sales page. So thanks so much for submitting. Next up, we have Rosmer from Joyful Family Therapy. All right, I had to take another drink of water there. Excuse me. Okay, great. So Rosmer, one thing I would suggest is actually to remove this video from the top. I know Danielle Laporte is the founder of the Desire Map. I love Danielle Laporte. I love the Desire Map. But since you're a licensee of the program, what you actually want to do is brand yourself as the licensee. This is all about your experiences, your talents, your skills, what you're bringing to the table as a workshop leader and as a teacher of the Desire Map. So even though Danielle Laporte is the founder of the Desire Map, this is actually your program because you're putting your unique flavor on it, you're putting your unique flair with it, you're adding things to it, you're making it your own. So what I would suggest is removing this video, and you can either replace it with copy, or you can put your own video here with you, and I want to see you talking about the Desire Map. I want to see you talking about your experiences with the Desire Map, how it changed your life, or it can be a trailer for your program. But again, I want to make sure that you're putting yourself on your website because you need to brand you. You're branding yourself as your brand. So make sure that you make that adjustment there. And then I also have another 5-minute tweak, and this is for everyone. Now, when you are creating the copy for your website, you do not want to overuse the centering option. So as you see here, all of this text is currently centered in this section here. And what you want to do instead is you want to left justify your text as much as possible, which means everything to the left like you would normally see. And the reason for that is because in the West, our eyes are trained to follow the path of the left margin. So when you center your text like this, your eyes have to work harder to find each new margin. So I'll show you what I mean. You jump from here, then you're here, now you're here, 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 here. So it kind of gets confusing to the eye to have to jump around so much. Whereas if everything's just left justified, all the person has to do is follow a straight line. Their eyes just have to follow a straight path down. So try to minimize centering on your sales pages as much as possible, because when you center things, it's kind of like a speed bump to the reader, and it just slows them down, and it might make them give up on reading the text altogether. So left justify as much as possible. Also, try to avoid using light text on dark backgrounds, kind of like what you see here. You can't really, it's not really a struggle here in the top, but when you get to the bottom, it can kind of be a little bit more difficult to read. So many people have different vision problems, so you want to make sure that you're catering to people. I know that the purpose of this block is kind of just to break up the sales page into different sections, but you might want to consider just having dark text on a lighter background instead of light text on a darker background. So those are just 2 5-minute tweaks that you definitely want to implement into your copy. Now, Rosemary, you start talking about your story over here, and you do ask some questions that are directed to the audience initially. So how do you feel? Do you feel free, connected? Do you feel the way that you want to feel? And then you go right into your story. And of course, being a proponent that I am of storytelling, I do want you to tell your story, but I don't want you to go straight into your own experience from the get-go. So like I said with Bonnie's page, you want to spend some time laying the foundation for your audience first, because this is all about them. The sales page is all about them and their struggles and what they're going through. So you need to be able to pull them in. And so instead of going right into your experience, I would like to see a lot of copy here first about what they're going through. And some of the ways to help you kind of jumpstart that are to ask questions like, what are they going through that has brought them to your page? What are they currently struggling with? What are their obstacles? What are they looking for in their life right now? And answering all those questions becomes the text that you would use to set the scene for their story. And a good tool that you can use for this is a workbook that I have right now called Spellbound. It's a free workbook. It's 32 pages. It's full color. And one of the things that I help people do in this workbook is kind of get into their audience's mind. I help you become a mind reader for your audience because it's so important to understand what's going on in your audience's mind, because that text, those answers become you're setting the scene and laying down the foundation to pull them in. So again, this is a free workbook. For those of you who haven't gotten your copy, definitely go to my website and grab your copy because it can really help you get into your audience's mindset. So Rosner, again, I want you to start off by addressing your audience, their concerns, their struggles, what they're going through, and then you're going to go into your own story and show, hey, I've been there too. All right. So now we're going down here. One thing that I did notice was this question here, are you ready to? I don't know if it's supposed to be ... and they kind of fill in the blanks for themselves, or if it's just a typo. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And most of the sales pages that I will be reviewing today, I did come across a typo here or there or spelling error. And for those of you who are thinking, gosh, I can never catch my typos, I can never catch my grammatical mistakes, one of the things that I do that has been really helpful to me is that I print out whatever it is I've written and then I read it back to myself out loud. So when you read it out loud and when you have the text in your hand, it's actually easier to catch those mistakes because they're kind of like speed bumps to your reading and it just becomes instant and crystal clear. So for those of you who may have trouble with catching those errors or catching those mistakes, copy and paste your sales page copy into a Word document, print it out, and then read it to yourself out loud, and I promise you, it'll be so easy to catch those mistakes. I also want to jump into another 5-minute tweak. There's so many throughout this workshop. So here's another 5-minute tweak, and it has to do with fonts. I love fonts, and I used to use so many different fonts on some of my older websites because I love them so much. But the truth is you have to keep your font uniform because that's going to start to be a part of your brand. So I would say use no more than 2 different types of fonts at all times. And I want to show you a Pinterest graphic that I have here. Again, there will be a recording of the workshop, so you can always pause and be able to copy down the information for this pin. But this is just a guide that kind of shows you the different types of fonts to use and what fonts to pair them with. So it's kind of like wine and cheese, right? Every type of wine has a cheese that it can be paired with. Every type of cheese is a wine that it's best paired with. So this kind of shows you which fonts go best with what other fonts. So it's a great guide to have. You never want to combine 2 similar fonts. You want to contrast your fonts as much as possible. Again, stick to 2 fonts. Don't mix moods of the fonts, so different types, different varieties of fonts. You don't want to go too crazy there. Instead, you want to complement the fonts that you're using. So again, this is a great guide. And if you want, when you're watching the recording, just pause here and then copy down the link and kind of use this to help you figure out the fonts that you want to use in your own page. So again, use no more than 2 different types of fonts. Also, I would remove the shadow effect on this text because it kind of makes it hard to read. And like I'll say several times throughout this workshop, you want to improve and enhance readability as much as possible. People have to be able to read your sales page because you don't want people clicking away just because they're not able to read your text, right? So get rid of the shadow effect here. Another thing that you may want to consider is putting some images in here. So for instance, you can have a nice image here on the left that's relative to each of these words, create, explore, and then you would just have the copy to the right of that. In fact, you can even make these words the images and then just put them on the side here. So you have a lot of sections here. So I really think that putting pictures to the side would make it aesthetically appealing, for instance. You want to add color. It's clear that you want to add color with a different color font, but there are different ways to do that, and using pictures is one of the ways that you can achieve that effect. So let's move along. What we're getting into now are the details of your program. By the way, this is a very nice picture. I love this graphic. Beautiful, beautiful. So here, Rosmer, you list the details of your program, the Desire workbook, you get appetizers, lunch, yoga class, aromatherapy sessions. This is a great list of items, but these are all features, right? And you want to make sure that you're also talking about the benefits of those features. So again, this is the whole features versus benefits conundrum. So let me give you an example. Instead of just saying you're going to get a delicious appetizer on Saturday, you can say a delicious appetizer on Saturday to nourish your body and prepare you for the soulful work to come. You also have an aromatherapy session on Sunday. So you can say an aromatherapy session on Sunday to relax your heart, mind, and soul so that you can start healing from the inside out. And it might sound silly, but trust me, people really do buy into this. I know I do. Without it, they're going to wonder, well, you know, why do I need an appetizer? Why do I need a gourmet lunch? Why do I need a yoga class? Why do I need an aromatherapy session? So what you need to do is show them how it's going to benefit them, how it's going to improve their life, how it's going to add to the experience. So that's where the whole benefit part of features versus benefits comes in. And when you do that, and start to implement it more and more into the work that you're providing and the services that they're getting and all of the nice features that they're going to be taking advantage of when they invest in your program, it's going to be a no-brainer for them to work with you, because when they see how it's going to improve their life, they're going to want it. So make sure that you list those benefits for each of these features and really expand upon it. And other than that, great start to a great sales page, Rosmer, and thanks for submitting. So next up, we have Ingrid. This is translation service. I'm going to take another drink of water. All right, so we have USCIS Certified Translations for Immigration, fast and guaranteed. So my first insight, Ingrid, is what does guaranteed mean in this instance? Are you guaranteeing that it will be fast, that it will be certified? You want to get really specific with your headlines. And I would also get specific with the word fast. So do you do it in 24 hours, in 48 hours, in 3 days? You always want to be very specific in your headlines, because this creates a mental picture in your audience's mind, which makes them want what they want more desirable. It creates a mental picture, and this becomes more desirable. It makes them want it. It makes them more apt to purchase it, because you've now created a mental image of their mind of what it would look like. So you say down here that it is typically 24-hour delivery. So, you know, tell them that in the headline. Certified translation for immigration, guaranteed within 24 hours. That is a major selling point. So again, headline is your opportunity to be as specific as possible, and you definitely want to add those specifics there. Before I go any further, I also want to recommend that you put your social proof right here. You have your American Translators Association corporate member. I would put that icon right here. You have some great real estate right here that's not being used right now. And by putting it there, you're instantly showing people that you mean business, that you're professional. You know, you're not just some random translator off the street who's doing this. No, you're a member of a internationally recognized or nationally recognized association. So you want to hit them with that social proof, with those credentials, with that experience right here. So if at all possible, I would put that social proof right there. Now, immediately after the headline, I would like to see you go straight into your story, into the audience's story, that is. So you need to, again, set the scene, set the foundation for what the people who are coming to you are going through. So this could be as simple as saying, you know, do you need a translation of a birth certificate and medical records for your international adoption? Do you need this for that? Do you need that for this? So what are some of the reasons that people come to you for your services? You need to list them out to start with, because that's how people are going to know that they're in the right place. You don't want them to go searching for this information to see if this is the right service for them. You want to let them know up front, these are all the things that I deal with. These are all the reasons why people come to us. And that allows them to feel more comfortable about proceeding through your website. You have to let people know in as much as possible that they are in the right place. All right, after that, I would love to see these icons listed out horizontally. So however the order goes, you know, $75, 24-hour delivery, emailed, certified translation, and then the 100% guaranteed. I would like to see that just laid out horizontally across here under the story. And then upload document can be under that. Here, I would like to see these white circles numbered. So instead of the arrows, just have 1, 2, 3, and then you can get rid of the numbers here. That just allows people to see, you know, how the process works. It just gives them another picture of how quick this is, how efficient it is, and what they need to do in order to get their items translated. You know, I mentioned putting this in the top right corner, so you could potentially get rid of this white space here, or you could keep this part here if you wanted to. And then you're going to go straight into your testimonials. So you have some great testimonials here. One thing I would say is to make sure that your testimonials are grammatically correct. Even if what they gave you came in grammatically incorrect, you still want to edit it because it's a reflection of you as it's on your website. So you want to convey professionalism at all times, right? So make sure that you, we had to travel out of the country. So for instance, that would be out of the country. I think I noted another grammatical error here. And I know, you know, sometimes this is just how people send in the testimonials. Obviously, English might not always be their first language, but for the purpose of conveying professionalism on your website, just make sure that you clean up the copy in those testimonials. And then you just give them information about your translation services. You go more into depth about some of the things that'll be translated. And then, you know, you're going to have your call to action here. So you want to have a stronger call to action. You know, not just, you know, if we didn't answer your questions, contact us, but, you know, really hit it hard. You know, if you need this fast, if it's urgent, if it's an urgent matter, you know, don't waste time. Don't stress yourself out. Don't give yourself any more headaches. You know, we are the people for you. Let's do this, right? So you want to definitely have a stronger call to action. And other than that, this is a great sales page, great foundations, good bones here. So thank you for submitting. All right. Next we have Marlene, or Marlene. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. With winbydesignnow.com. So here is another 5-minute tweak for everybody who's watching and listening in. And that is to remove all distractions on your sales page, including opt-in and sign-up forms such as this one. Why? Because the sole purpose of your sales page is to make a sale. So you don't want to distract people from that by enticing them to join your list or check out your blog or click away from your website. So make sure that all of your opt-in and sign-up forms, all of your distractions, all of your links to other things are not appearing on your sales page. So I want to show you, it looks like for those of you who are using the Sumo Me app by Noah Kagan, I want to show you real quick how you can get rid of this on certain pages. And it's perfectly fine to have it on other pages on your website, but I wouldn't recommend it on your sales page. So let me show you real quick how you're going to get rid of that. Now this is my life coaching website. I also have the Sumo Me app. So you're just going to click on, you're going to click on your blue box to open it up. Now I don't have the scroll bar app like this one for my website, but all of the apps have the same setup. So I'm just going to show you using one of the other apps. Once you click on the app, in this case it would be scroll bar, okay? You're going to go down to display rules, add a rule, and then you're just going to say don't show on the URL path exactly matching. And then all you're going to do is copy and paste, and then you're going to save it. And that's going to ensure that your scroll bar doesn't appear on your sales page, okay? So that's just one tip for everyone who has a scroll bar or a pop-up or a scroll box. Make sure that those things are not appearing on your sales page, because your sales page has its own call to action and you don't want to distract people with it. One other thing I want to mention in that same vein is get rid of the sidebars on your sales pages as well. So for instance, Marlene, here you have your Twitter feed, you have your opt-in form for your newsletter, and then you have a quiz. So someone who's kind of ADD, which many of us are in this day and age, you know, we're going to get so distracted by these things. Ooh, a quiz, let me take that quiz. Oh, she's on Twitter, let me go click on this link. So again, you don't want to distract people with your sidebar. So make sure that you remove the sidebar from your sales pages, and I'll show you how you can do that. When you log into your WordPress site, I'm assuming that this is a WordPress site. If not, you'll just have to get with your website developer about how you set up your pages. But for those who use WordPress sites, once you log into your dashboard, you know, click on the page that you want to edit, and then on the right side of the page editor, you're going to see something like this, template. You're going to click the drop-down menu, and you're usually going to have two options, default template or full width template. So for instance, this is the default template for this blog, for this template. It has a sidebar, it has a section for text, it has a header. So that's the default for every single page on this website. But what you actually want is the full width template. And what that's going to do, it's going to get rid of the sidebar, and it's going to give you a bigger space to cover with your copy. So again, get rid of those sidebars and get rid of those opt-in forms. Okay, now back to you, Marlene. You're setting up the theme for your audience. Great, we've talked a little bit about that today. So what I want you to do is just expand upon that. Again, you really want to capture what they're going through, because they have to see themselves in your copy. I also love that you use imagine here. That's one thing I talk a lot about, using the word imagine and using it to paint a happy ending for the audience. But what you can do is to take it a step further and expand upon this. So for instance, you say, imagine having clarity on what you want to accomplish. Well, why is having clarity so important? You could say maybe gain clarity so that you make goals that are in alignment with what you want and can create a clearer and shorter path from point A to point B. So this kind of goes into the whole features versus benefits dichotomy. So again, this is kind of like a feature, but how does it benefit the person? How does it improve upon their lives? So think of the bigger picture for each of these things and then show them why it's important. All right, moving along. Marlene, you have some pretty big credentials. Not everyone can say that they've created strategies that impact millions of customers for companies like American Express, Verizon, or JP Morgan. That's a big deal. And I know most entrepreneurs, especially women, don't want to toot their horn too loudly because they don't want to seem prideful or vain. But this is something you definitely want to be putting in front of your audience on a bigger scale. And an easy way to do that without coming off as overbearing is just to use the company's logo. So you could say something along the lines of, you know, companies that I've worked with in the past include, and then under that, you'll just list all the logos of these companies right here, American Express, Verizon, State Farm, JP Morgan, and people, that's going to be a really big deal to them because it boosts your credibility. It heightens the trust factor. They're going to trust you now that they know that you have developed and implemented projects for these companies. So you definitely want to put that on there as logos because not everybody's going to read every single word of text on your sales page. So having logos also serves the purpose of letting people know on a visual level that you have credentials, that you're experienced, and that you know what you're talking about, okay? This is also an area where I want to see you talk more about yourself. We don't really get a big picture of you here. We don't really get a deep glimpse into your background. So I want to see you, first of all, I want to see a picture of you. So I literally want to see you. So put a picture here on the left here, and then give us a look into who you are and what your experience is and what the journeys look like that has brought you to this point. Okay. Next up, we talk about some features here. So proven and timeless strategies that big companies use that can be applied to your small business for massive results. Again, you just want to talk about the benefits. Why are each of these things important? How is it improving the person's life? What is it adding to their life? So adding those benefits to each of these bullet points is really going to make your offer mouth-watering. People are going to want it because you're going to tell them why they need it. That's one of the reasons why benefits are so important. You're telling the person why they need and why they want what you offer. Okay, so then you show me the different ways that we can work together. You have 3 different packages here, right, which is great. But then the biggest red flag on the sales page, Marlene, is that there isn't a call to action. So if someone wanted to book one of your services, how would they do it? There isn't a next step for them. There's nothing for me to click on. It's just text. I can't click on the picture. There's nothing here that allows me to take the next step forward. And by this point, you've probably already established a connection with them. They're interested in working with you. They want to learn more. So now they get to your services page, but there's nothing for them to do next. All you have is an opportunity to join your email list, right? So this is another 5-minute tweak for everybody who's listening. You have to have a call to action on your sales page. You have to lead people and take their hand and walk them through the next step. Otherwise, they're going to be lost. And if they don't know how they can purchase your offer, they're going to leave their website. So you've got some great looking services here, Marlene. And the simple thing that you can do to make this, again, a 5-minute tweak, after you tell me what this is, add a link here. Click here to book now. Here, click here to book now. And then the last one, click here to book now. And if you don't immediately go into booking, you can just say click here to book a clarity call, or book here to click here to book a free consultation. Whatever your intake process looks like, I want you to add links here so that the people that you're speaking to can take that next step. Because the truth of the matter is, people are busy, they're in a rush, they're doing so many things at once. So they're not gonna click through all of your pages and figure out, okay, how do I get in touch with this person? If they want to work with you, you have to make it easy for them. You have to kind of spoon feed them what it is they're looking for. So make sure you add those links. Make sure you add a call to action, a final call to action here that says, if you're interested in any of these services, let's get started. Let's get you set up. So yeah, definitely add those call to actions for everyone else listening. Make sure that you have a call to action on your sales page so that people know the next step in working with you. So great website, Marlene. Great foundation and good bones. And thank you so much for submitting. All right. Next, we have Jamie over at Website With. I love this font, Jamie. Beautiful. I'm like tracing it now, but yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Great. It's eye-catching. So good job there. Now, you can do it. Here's how. So my first question would be, now I've obviously read your sales page, so I already know what it is that you offer and what you provide. But if I was coming here for the first time, my question would be, well, I can do what exactly? What is this page talking about? So I would either tell them what you're talking about, you can build your own website, here's how, or I would just get rid of this line altogether because it just leads to confusion because they're not sure what it is you're talking about. So if you want to keep it, again, just say you can build your own website, here's how. Okay, so let's talk about how scary it is to build your website from scratch. Now, one thing I want to point out before I go any further, right, it's just this line here that I happen to catch. Streams of money pour out of your bank account. So again, a lot of the sales pages that I have reviewed for this workshop, just minor typos, minor errors, minor spelling mistakes. One way to troubleshoot that is just to print it out on a Word document and then read it out aloud. Now, I have been editing for so many years of my life that I'm just able to catch it on a digital screen. But I know that not everybody's like that. Some people do have to read it out loud. That's one great tip for spell checking and for proofing your work. All right. Now this is great, Jamie. This is exactly what I mean about setting the scene. Continue with the story. Okay, you have some great lines here. The project gets stalled with questions over hosting and themes. You're stumped by code and SEO. Streams of money are pouring out of your bank account for apps and plugins and widgets. Oh my. Every time you sit down at your computer, a bolt of panic shoots through you. You've got your creds, experience, and passion. A solid functional website is a missing piece. That thing you need to grow your practice, reach your people, and share your light. So this is great. And you know what? It's so emotionally charged because you're getting right into their heads. You're showing that you understand their pain. You know, the conflict is so high and so great. So what I would say is just continue with the story. So you might want to say, you know, you're overwhelmed. You don't think you'll ever get it done. And now you feel like your business dreams are slipping through your fingers. Do you need to give up? Are you way in over your head? Is this worth all the stress? If only there was a way to do things easier. Well, there is. And then you would lead into, finally, a step-by-step tool that guides you gently through the website creation process. Okay? So again, build up the suspense here. Build up the conflict. Build up the story. And then you're going to go into the solution that you have created. Now, again, before I go any further, it's time for another 5-minute tweak. This is for everyone watching. Make sure that your font size is nice and big. Jamie, this font size is a little small and it makes reading a tad bit difficult. So my recommendation for you and for everyone watching is to make your font at least 16 point. Now 12 point has been the status quo for so long, but what we have to remember is that most people are sitting 20 to 24 inches away from their computer screen. So unlike a book that you hold close to your face, your computer screen is further away, and so the font needs to be bigger. So you definitely want to make sure that you increase the font here to make it more readable for your audience. All right, moving along. Jamie, I would remove these 2 lines here. I'm going to tell you to bring them back later on, but after this cute little phrase here, I would just jump straight into your testimonial. Okay. And then in 6 weeks, you'll learn. So that's where I would add this 6-week guided course. You'll get expert training and support, and then you'll learn how to install, configure, and design. So I would use those lines here. Then you're going into your modules that each module contains. All right, what's included? Now, here we go again. Features versus benefits. You've listed all of the features of your program, which is great, and they sound awesome. You know, live training sessions, high quality templates. But what are the benefits of all of those things, okay? So here you say, along with my training, you'll also receive my go-to resources. They'll support your fabulous adventure, PDF, videos, and essential tools. How-to videos. So while you build your own fabulous online presence, you can follow along. So I would really suggest building upon that, Jamie, and telling us more about it. You know what? The funny thing is that I didn't even know that there were drop-down menus here. So I just realized that because I accidentally clicked on it. But that goes to show you that some people aren't going to know that this is actually something that you can click on and that gets dropped down. I didn't know until just now. So you do go into the benefits, it looks like. I would just expand upon them. But if there's a way to kind of get rid of this effect here and maybe just have it look like this, you know, the whole time instead of people having to click on it, because not everyone's going to know that that's a drop-down menu, and so people are going to miss out on why they need these incredible features, okay? All right, I would take out this phrase here. So what are you waiting for? Sounds like it might put a little bit too much pressure on your audience. And then I would put Leia's testimonial right under there, okay? And then we can go into the investment. And then after the investment, I would put the imagine element, which I so love. You know, imagine with 5 or so bullet points where you show your audience their ideal outcome. So this can be imagine finally having a professional website that makes you feel proud of your business. Imagine not having to have any more nervous breakdowns about HTML or CSS. So again, you're going to brainstorm about 5 or so imagine bullet points to add there. Then we get into your bio, great picture, love it. I love the fonts here. They complement each other well. Then a recap of what, and then the investment again. So all in all, a great job, Jamie. It's a beautiful website, beautiful design. I would just implement those small adjustments and changes and tweaks to make it even more effective. Thank you so much for sending it over. For those that are watching, don't worry, there are other websites here on my other screens. So here we have Maddox Hospitality Services, Royal Treatment. And it looks a little bit different when I checked it out yesterday or the day before. So mostly, Brenda, I'll be speaking to the design that initially had. I know right now you have your landing page up, which is fine. So when I first come to your website, one of the first questions that your audience is going to ask is, what is it? And if it's your target audience, they might be more informed, of course, about the services. But you still want to make it crystal clear as possible, so that even someone outside of your target market understands 100% what it is that you do. So, on your previous landing page, you mentioned world-class customer service for whatever your project requires, but it's still a little unclear what that means. Is it something you do for hotels? Is it for corporate events? Is it for private parties? Is it for resorts? And if it's for all of those things, that's fine, but you just need to be upfront and clear about that. And you also need to be clear on what exactly is world-class customer service. In other words, what do you do? So in high school, I was on the school newspaper, and one of the things they teach you is that your opening paragraph in every article has to answer the who, what, where, when, and how. So if you read the newspaper, you'll notice that all of the information is answered within the first paragraph. So it's the same with a website. You need to answer all of those questions at first glimpse. Who is it for? What is it? Where are these services performed? Do you only do them locally? Do you do them nationally, internationally? When is the service performed? Is this a 24/7 sort of thing? Is it only for evening events, only for morning events, only for events during 9 to 5? And then how would be the breakdown of your offer. What exactly is it that you provide? So on your previous landing page, you mentioned that you source things like aprons in China, you help create budgets and room counts. So I'm assuming your target audience would know more about what you're providing, but really you want to go into depth about what it is that your services do, how they make their life easier, how you're helping your ideal audience. So my suggestion to you at this point, since you're still kind of on the ground level with the copy, which is a great thing, by the way, because that means you're starting with a strong foundation. You can learn from other people's areas of improvement and implement them into your own sales page. But now that you're on the ground level, what I would just recommend is to answer those 5 questions. Who is it for? What is it? Where is it? Where do the services take place? When do the services take place? And how do you provide the services? What exactly is everything that you provide? And it doesn't have to be a boring, exhaustive list of things. You can set it up just like, you can have a picture on the left and then text. This is what we do. Another picture, this. Another picture, text. So it would have been easier for me to show you on the previous landing page. By the way, I do love this landing page too. Very sleek, very sophisticated. But again, it doesn't have to be boring, exhaustive text. You have a lot of beautiful images of resorts and things like that, which really go well with your brand. So I would just use those and kind of weave them in with your copy. And then once you have all that information on here, I just put a button and call to action at the bottom where they can fill out a form to contact you and learn more information. So again, this will give you a good foundation as you start to build your sales page further. Thanks so much for submitting, Brenda. All right, next up, we're going to move into our last few pages. Before that, I'm going to take another drink of water, so excuse me for a moment. All right, so this is Desiree with aplacetonest.com. Desiree, I know you sent me 2 pages. I'm going to do them side by side since they're pretty similar to each other. So the first thing I want to say is you don't want to lead in with the price, okay? And this goes into structuring your sales page in a way that finds your audience. Before you even mention the price, you want to show them 5 things. You want to show them that you understand their pain, which is what I've been talking a lot about throughout this workshop of setting the scene. You want to give them social proof. You want to put up those logos, those credentials. You want to talk about your experience. You want to show them the features of what they're getting. So again, the features versus benefits. And then the benefits would be the fourth thing in that equation. And then fifth, you want to show them the happy ending. So that goes into the imagine element. Imagine this, imagine that. So you want to do those 5 things. Again, understand their pain, show social proof, show the features, show the benefits, and show the happy ending before you list a price, okay? So let us remove that price since you don't want to lead with it. You're going to keep it to the bottom, especially since it's a fairly big investment like this. You definitely want to make sure that you are romancing your audience first. All right, you have a passion for your business that's burning inside of you and you want to share it with the world. So here you're setting the scene. Okay, and that's a great job here. And you know what I especially love? I love this phrase here. It's like a house full of hand-me-down furniture where nothing looks and works quite like it should. So I love that phrase there. So this is you do a really good job of setting the scene, and all I say is just expand upon that. What are some of the things that they're going through? What are they experiencing? What does it feel like? What does it feel like on an emotional level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level? Paint a big picture for them, because again, people want to see themselves in your copy. And this is another 5-minute tweak for everyone. You want to make sure that in as much as possible that you're using contractions, because this allows the reader to read more quickly, So instead of, and you are ready for change, I would just say, and you're ready for change. So use contractions as much as possible. And again, like I said, I would just go a little bit deeper into your audience's psyche. So you can do this by listing out questions that they might be asking themselves right now, like, am I way in over my head? Or how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to reach the next level in my business without an effective website? Or you can just continue describing the problem in third person, like you've already been doing. So you can continue to say, you have what people need, but because your website isn't working to your standards, you're not able to engage with your customers. So you're losing out on business and sales, and your website isn't in alignment with the professional way you want to be perceived. So, just build upon that, build up the tension, build up the angst. You're just painting a picture of where they currently are. And, as they read your copy, they're going to say, oh my gosh, she's totally reading my mind. And that's exactly what you want. In the bullet points here, make sure that you're describing it and not just the features of what you offer. So you do this well in the third bullet, okay? I will get your information organized and displayed so that your readers can find exactly what they're looking for. So this is the feature, custom and standard sidebar widget setup, and then this is the benefit. The readers are able to find exactly what they're looking for. So with each of these bullet points, I want you to come up and develop the benefit of that feature, and that makes it more desirable. I love that you're carrying on the theme. I hand over the keys to your brand new home. That's really cute. So well done there. And then at this point, I would include some testimonials if you have them. I noticed that you have a portfolio too. So if you don't necessarily have text testimonials, I just put some screenshots or maybe a slideshow plugin that shows your work. But testimonials would definitely be great. And that can be as simple as emailing your past clients, letting them know you're renovating your website, and would love to feature some of the people you've most enjoyed working with and asking if they could send over 1 or 2 sentences about their experience working with you. Then you want to put the imagine element. Imagine finally having the website of your dreams, never have to worry about your website or struggle over HTML. Then you'll finally list your price. So the price can go all the way down there. There it is. Okay. You're going to list that all the way down here after the imagine. And then you have your form. And that's that, okay? So the same thing goes for your second page. They are pretty much the same in the way that they're laid out. So again, you just want to keep your price to the end. Make sure you go a little deeper into your audience's psyche. Make sure you list out the benefits along with the features. Okay, include the testimonials and social proof. Add the imagine element, and then you're good to go. So thanks so much, Desiree, for submitting. Next up, we have Julia, who is helping parents with their IEP meeting. I want to just say real quick that I love this lingo here. I'm sharing how to go beyond the enemy lines and cut through the maze of the red tape. I love that. It's a good use of language there, okay? I also just wanted to point something out real quick. It was formatted a little bit differently, so I took a look today just to make sure. So I'm just going to scroll down and past a few sections here. Here, I just wanted to bring to your attention that you have the number 2 at the end of this sentence. So I know it's so hard to, sometimes we just overlook typos. Overlook mistakes. So, as much as I can, I want to point them out to people while I'm doing the review just so that they can make those corrections. But while I'm here, I also want to mention that, you want to do the whole features versus benefits conundrum. You want to overcome that, right? So for anyone who is watching this review of Julia's website, Julia does an amazing example of listing the benefits along with the features. So, for instance, you get an IEP lingo cheat sheet. That's the feature, so that you know what the school is talking about when you're doing your IEP meetings. A list of the most important questions parents must ask. That's a feature, so that you can understand what and how your child will learn at school. You'll be armed with precise questions so you won't feel rushed or pressured to agree with decisions you aren't sure about. So Julia does a great job here of listing features and then showing her audience how it's going to improve their life and benefit them. So great job with that, Julia. I also love that you have bonuses here. People love bonuses. Now, one thing I want to say is that I wouldn't add the price just yet, okay? So let's remove this button for now because you're still priming your audience. You're still kind of romancing them. So they're not yet ready for that price, even though, it's a no-brainer price, right? It's only $7. But for the purpose of just having consistency with our sales pages, you kind of still want to add to the structure. So let's remove that there. And then we're going to go into the next section, which is a great glimpse into what you're offering. For anyone who sells information products, giving people a glimpse of what they can expect and what's inside your program is like icing on the cake. So do it as much as possible. Now, Julia, at this point, again, you want to make sure you remove that button just for now. I would include your testimonial. So right after you show me what's inside the action kit, now I start wanting to see, okay, well, how has this action kit benefited other people? So this is where you're going to list your testimonial, okay? And you can list them where they currently are too. I would just like to see more in that area. Then we're going to get into let's face it. Make sure that you're breaking up the text here and that there's spacing where there needs to be spacing. And then also you have some pretty big accomplishments here. I've exited students out of special education who went on to get all B's. I would put that in bold, and I would put it in a different color so that people who are just scanning the text can see and that it stands out to them. And it kind of makes them think, oh, wow, that is an amazing accomplishment. Let me pay more attention to this paragraph. So make sure that those accomplishments are standing out, okay? It shows people what's possible for their own child. And then here, before the question, before the FAQ, this is where I would put your call to action. So you have it down here. Well, this is your third call to action at this point, but I recommend that you get rid of those earlier buttons and instead put this nice big call to action right after here. And then you're going to follow it up with your questions that you already have. Make sure your call to action reminds people of what's possible. It reminds them what they can expect, what they're going to experience as a result of owning the kit. That allows them to feel more confident and more prepared to make the purchase. After that call to action, that's where you'll put your FAQ section, okay? And you have some great questions here. I would just brainstorm any further objections that your parents might have. It looks like you covered enough ground, but it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to answer as many questions as possible. So one thing you can do is just use questions that people might have emailed to you in the past, some common themes that continue to come up, and make those a part of your FAQ section here. Then you're going to have additional testimonials in addition to the ones that you posted earlier. And then finally, another Buy Now button. Okay? And the only other insight and tip I would have for you is that I actually really like the headline on your purchase page. Ace your child's next IEP, a busy parent's guide to maximizing a year's worth of progress. I would actually use that as a headline of your sales page because I think it really grabs people in from the get-go. So that's just something for you to consider. All in all, great page. Again, great job with the features versus benefits section, and thanks for sending it over. All right, next we have Hills from CoachHill.com. So Hills, one of the first things I wanted to bring to your attention is that your navigation bar is a little bit crowded, which means that when people first come to your website, they won't know what to click on first. Should they go to prices? Should they go to your bio? Should they go to your blog? Should they go to services? Should they book a session? So when you have so many things in your navigation bar, it tends to throw people off. So my recommendation, and what a lot of experts would recommend, is having no more than 3 items on your navigation bar, okay? So that's another 5-minute tweak for everyone watching and listening in. You want to clean up your navigation bar and make sure that there aren't a lot of options for your audience because it can be overwhelming and confusing. So have no more than 3. And, if you have to have 4 Hills, I would recommend, they don't necessarily need home because clicking on the image brings them home. So I would just recommend Meet Hill, My Services, and then Blog. And the reason for that is because a lot of these other things, My Clients, Book a Session, Prices, can actually all be used on your sales page. You can synthesize all of this information for your sales page, okay? You already have all of the content you need for your sales page. Now you just have to put it all in one spot. So you're going to start with your headline, which is the promise that you're making to your audience. So are they going to feel happier? Are they going to feel more free, more abundant? Then what you can do is ask them questions. So here you have, do you want to strengthen your confidence? Do you want to work towards specific goals? Do you want to change a career? That's going to form the basis of your headline. Here you have who needs a coach. So instead of making these questions, I would make them answers. Who needs a coach? Someone who wants to find answers to who I really am. Someone who wants to find and eliminate what keeps them from achieving their goals. Someone who wants to have a coach by their side when they go through a challenging phase. So again, this is all about setting the scene and showing people that you know what they're looking for. And then you're going to go into I Can Help You Too. Okay, and this is copy that's on your Meet Hill page. So I can coach you on your journey. And this is going to be the section where you tell us a little bit more about you, about your background, about your experiences, and you do all of that here, which is great. Now what we need to do is just put it all in one page, right? Because that's what's going to become your sales page. So another thing you want to do, again, here you're going into the psyche of your audience. This is something that's going to be on your sales page as well. So you're going to say, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want that? People who need a coach or who are looking for a coach are typically people who want to achieve their goals. They want to eliminate that. They want to find that. The people who typically come to me are women in their 30s to 50. They have busy jobs, wonderful kids they care for, but they're in overwhelm because of what they're going through. Then you can say, hey, I've been there too. Here's my background, here's my journey, and now I want to help you, coach you through your journey. So that's the basic structure that your sales page is going to have, Hill. And again, all you have to do is put this all on one page. And like that, you have a perfect, effective sales page. You also want to list some testimonials. I noticed that you have them here on the My Clients page. And then after that, you're just going to have a nice closing, a nice call to action, inviting people to book a session with you. I think I read that you have a free session, a free complimentary session the first go around. So invite them to do that. And just like that, you have a sales page. So again, Hill, you already have all of the content here. You already have all the information. You just have to synthesize it into one page using that structure, and you're well on your way, okay? So thanks so much for submitting. Next up, we have Miss Jessica from jesslearn.com. Jess, I really like this tagline here, many schools teach content and some others teach students. Here, we do both. I like that tagline. I would, get rid of this. It's not really doing anything for this particular area, and I would just keep this tagline here, okay? Be careful with this wording here. Our team of tutors work and coach our students hard. It sounds a bit abrasive, and it might turn off some people simply because it seems like maybe it's going to work the students too hard. So instead, I would change the language and wording a little, maybe to something like, we commit to bringing out the best in your student, or we endeavor to bring out your student's potential. Also, you want to go more into detail about what unconventional means. How are you unconventional? You mentioned that you teach content and students, so what does that mean? What does it look like? Some parents, I imagine, would be going to tutoring with their children for the first time, so they don't know what to expect, and they wouldn't realize that there is a difference to your method. So you have to educate the market and show why your way of doing things is so valuable. So you can do this by making a 2-column table. You might have 2 columns here, one here, one here. And on the left, you can show them, what is it that your competition does? How does your competition do it, and why is it ineffective? And then on the right, you're going to tell them, this is how I do it, and this is why it's so effective and why it's better than anything you could ever imagine, okay? So you're going to have to educate the market on why your method is better, and you need to show them how you're unconventional in your approach. Now, this is a link to your praise and your testimonials. Jessica, I would go ahead and just put those testimonials right here on the page, because people don't want to have to be looking for them. You don't want to make your audience work hard for the information that they're looking for. So I did take a look earlier at your testimonials, and you have a lot. So make sure that you list them all out here. Don't make it a separate link. This is all adding to your pedigree, all adding to your resume, all showing your credentials and your social proof. So make sure that those testimonials are a part of this page here, and they're not a part of a separate page. This is a 5-minute tweak for everyone. Again, don't make your audience work hard to get the information they need. And as much as possible, put everything in one place. All right, next you go into the subjects that you teach, okay? And instead of having them listed out horizontally like this, what I would do is I would list them vertically. So French, English, math, science. You can still keep the pictures, right? And then beside each picture in this area here, I would include a small paragraph, 2 to 4 sentences about what the students will be able to achieve as a result of this particular subject and your tutoring methods, and then include a link to learn more. So don't just make it pictures. I want to see a picture and then a text beside it about why it's important, what they're going to achieve, and then a link to learn more. And do that for each picture. And again, you're going to listen vertically. And then for each individual subject, okay, for each individual subject, you're going to show them, and you do a great job of showing them why it's so great, why it's necessary. But at the bottom, I want you to put a book a session now. Whatever it is that you do in your intake process, book a free session, book a free call, get in touch with us. Make sure that you're putting the links and putting a call to action on every single page, on your French page, English page, math page, and piano page, okay? And speaking about your piano page, right now, it links to a separate website, which is your piano tutoring website. It's a beautiful website, but you don't want to take people away from your tutoring website. So instead, just give the piano page, just like you have a page for each of these here, okay? Give the piano a page like this. Don't link it to a separate website, because then people have to look for the information. They have to look for the information about your lessons. They have to look for the contact form. Make it as easy as possible for them. Just give them their piano page here, and then again, remember to add those links. And then also, Jeff, when you put that call to action, when you put the button to click here, make sure that it's a strong call to action. So it could be something like, give your child the step up they need in their learning, or help your child to finally overcome the challenges they're facing in the classroom. Whatever it is that's the pain point, make sure that you include that as a call to action at the end of this page, okay? All All right. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring to your attention, it says contact me or join us. I'm assuming that I guess people can come meet with you in person. I don't know if you do lessons over Skype, but if you do, it was just a little bit confusing, the wording here of join us. So, you know, you might want to take a look at that and maybe just have contact me. Okay? All in all, great website. Looks like you're doing great work. So awesome. Thank you for submitting. Next, we have Nicole. We have only a few pages left after this. Okay, and then I'm going to get into questions and answers if anybody has questions or answers. Questions, actually, and I guess I would have the answers. So hold on for one moment. I'm just going to get a drink of water, and then we'll continue. All right. This is Nicole. This is my familyvacationplanner.com. And Nicole, the page that you initially sent me was where people would actually book their vacation. I know it was a form that you had sent me, something along the lines of this. Okay, so let me address this page first, and then I'll give you some sales page tips. So remember, we don't want to distract anyone, so let's get rid of the sidebar. That we have your newsletter here, and then we have the printable journal, and then we have our social media links. We don't want to distract people on this page. We want them to get a quote. That's the only thing that we want them to do on this page, okay? So make sure that you get rid of the sidebar. And again, this was a 5-minute tweak for everyone. Eliminate as many distractions as possible so that you're creating more compelling and effective pages. Okay, now, Nicole, what I think is that your Why Book With Us, which is the page that this is. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the right page. Why Book With Us is kind of like your online salesman. So it looks like this is the page that's really your sales page and should be used as your sales page if you're not using it right now. So for instance, you address questions that people would have, right? Why should I call a travel agent instead of just using an app? What I want you to do is, again, remove the sidebar here on this page so that you have more room. And then you also might want to consider changing the title of the page. And by that, I just mean the font, because the font is different from the logo, and it's also different from, you know, the other font that you're using on the page. So one way to do that is to use a plugin called Google Typography. And that's assuming that you're using WordPress for your website, but that will allow you to actually, you know, highlight certain text and then change the font just by using the plugin. Or you can just remove the title from all of your pages so that you don't have to deal with this. And to do that, all you're going to do is copy this HTML here. Okay. You would go into the dashboard of your WordPress. You would go to Appearances and Editor. And then here in your style sheet, all you're going to do is paste it. And then you're going to update the file. And that's going to remove all of the titles from your website, which is great for a lot of people because they may not want a title to appear on their web pages. Okay? So that's just a tip for you if that's something that maybe you would want to do. Okay. Now moving along. You want to make sure that you have a great headline. I know that this isn't the sales page that you initially had in mind, but again, I think it would work perfectly for you. So your headline might be something like, use a travel agent for your next vacation and get insider deals that you'd find nowhere else, or something to that effect, okay? Then you're going to lead into your sentence here. In this day of apps and online travel booking sites, it seems a wonder that there are travel agents still around. So why should you call me instead of heading online to book your next vacation? So I want you to kind of build up the story here. You know, Maybe they're having a headache booking their vacation. Maybe they're so stressed out, they don't know where they want to go, they don't know how to get there. There's just so many options and it's so overwhelming. So I want you to really get into the head of your audience here. And then I want you to say something along the lines of, but did you know that a travel agent can get you, okay? And this is where you talk about all the things that you were able to do for your clients that a lot of people don't know that you can do with a travel agent, okay? And that's really going to pique the interest of your audience, especially this character breakfast, because I know that that's not cheap. So the fact that you were able to get a free character breakfast for your audience, or I mean for this particular client, people want to see that. And in fact, I would bold it and even make it a different color to kind of call it to their attention. Okay? The next thing I want you to do is to address the top myths of travel agencies. So this will be a big bold section in this area here. And the first might be, but I don't have the budget to pay for a travel agent. And then you say, hey, actually, you don't pay any fees to book with a travel agent. So this is called addressing the audience's objections, and this is why it's so essential to have an FAQ area on your sales page. This is going to take every single objection that your audience has and turn it on its head. So Nicole, think of at least 3 objections that people have to using travel agencies and then address them in this area here. After this, I would go into your story. Okay? But first, you have your top reasons for your next vacation experience, or why to use a travel agent for that. So let's go ahead and go through this, and you do a great job of listing out all the things that a person, all the benefits that someone can reap from using a travel agent. Okay, so you already have some great content here, some great copy here. And then let me just open that page there. Okay, once you get to the end of all these great benefits and all these great features and benefits that you do such a great job of describing, I would go into your story. So my love for travel began with our annual family vacations. You know, people love that. They want to connect with you. They want to see what you're, you know, a lot of times I think the hesitation with travel agents is people think that the people are just in it for the money, right? But it sounds like you really have a passion for travel and you want people to have that same enjoyment from travel that you have. Plus you have these beautiful pictures of your children and your family here. So you want to make sure that you make that a part of this page. Again, I know this wasn't initially your sales page, but I think it'd be such a great sales page for you. And since you're mainly reaching out to families, putting pictures of your family shows them, oh, hey, she's just like me. You know, when we see that someone has just one thing in common with us, we tend to assume that the similarities run all across the board. So once they see that, you know, you're a family woman, you have these awesome vacations, these awesome memories, they're going to immediately be drawn to you, okay? So you're going to put your story here. And then you're going to have your call to action, a strong call to action. You know, ready to plan the vacation of your dreams, minus all the stress and headaches, then contact me now, okay? But you also want to put your number, let's see, you put your number here. What I mean is you also want to put your contact form, sorry about that. You have your number here. You also want to put a contact form here, and there's plenty of plugins for contact forms because some people just don't want to make the first move. So they prefer someone to contact them. So make sure that you're giving them that option. If possible, get rid of the links down here. Again, it's just distracting people from this page. And then up here, you know, there's so much going on up here. Like I said earlier, a lot of experts would recommend there being no more than 3 items on your navigation bar because anything more than that leaves people confused and they don't know where they want to go. So determine what your most important pages are. The blog, the sales page are definitely going to be on there. And then see if some of these other things can just be in a sidebar on other pages, okay? But all in all, great page. You have some great content here. With just a few adjustments, I really think that you can take it to the next level. All right, guys, we just have 3 sales pages left. We're reaching the home stretch, okay? And then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. And then we'll be done. I just want to thank you so much for those of you who are still listening in. I know it's been a pretty long workshop, but hopefully it's been really helpful to you. Okay. So this is from Janicia, soulrichwoman.com. Janicia, I know you sent in 2 websites, but I'm going to do one of them because they basically have the same template. Okay. Now, one thing I want to say is it's designed to change the way that you see your money forever. Well, you haven't really mentioned the program yet, so they're not really sure what you're talking about. You know, it's designed. Well, what's designed? Okay, so just get rid of that line because it makes it a little bit confusing for them. Also, CNY Prosperity Special, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming maybe that's the name of your brand or the name of a company or the name of something, but a lot of people who are coming to this website may not know what that is. Now, if they do, then never mind that. But if you think it can cause confusion, just get rid of that there and leave special. But you also don't want to lead with such a big number. And this is something that I brought up earlier, right? You don't want to lead with the price, especially when it's a big number. It's a big investment because you need to spend time romancing your audience first, okay? So I would just get rid of that altogether and maybe just have something like, maybe not even have the timeline either because it kind of creates a sense of urgency. And while a sense of urgency is great, you also don't want to put it in people's faces from the get-go because it's the first thing that they're seeing. So instead, you want to build a relationship with them, okay? So that's what you do here. Again, I would really just, like I've said before, you just want to print this out and make sure that you read it out loud to make sure that you're catching any typos or any spelling or grammatical errors, okay? Because the copy has to reflect you. You want it to be professional. You want it to be in alignment with who you are. Now, one thing I want to say is that the second section here, it's kind of repetitive. Some of these questions are questions you just asked in the section before. So make sure that you're not repeating yourself, okay? And here, that was me in the past. This is a great intro to your story. So one thing I would say is this is your chance to show us an insider's look into your life. This is where you're going to go into your story, okay? Not everyone is going to have the time to watch your video here. You have a really nice video here, very professional video, but not everyone's going to have the time to watch it. A lot of people are busy. A lot of people just aren't video people. So you need to spend some time here showing us your story. You know, what has been your experience? What's your background? What are your credentials? Where have you been featured? Who are your past clients? Who have you worked with? You know, what has led you to this point, okay? So make sure that you build up your story here. Also, you have so much social proof. Look at all of these testimonials that you have. These are great testimonials. They're so wordy. You know, they're singing your highest praise. But the only problem is that they're all the way at the bottom of your page. So Janicia, what I want to see you do is take some of these testimonials and then interweave them throughout your page. You know, put them earlier on, put them here. Put them here with your story. You know, put them right before your modules and then put them after your modules, okay? You want to put them in as many places as possible on your sales page because that really boosts your credibility. And then one other thing or two other things I want to mention, make sure that your pricing is consistent, okay? So here, you only have one-time payment. You only have your one-time payment option. But then when I scroll down later, if I can find it. Okay, here you have a two-part installment plan. So you want to make sure that you're consistent with your pricing. And then also, when you're listing out the features of your program, again, make sure that you're listing the benefits. So why are the video lessons important? Why are the worksheets and the money sheets important? What are these must-read books that they're getting? What are these accountability emails? Why is that important? Why do they need them? How does it benefit them? So you have really great bones here, Janicia. You have a lot of copy. You know, you have so much social proof with all of these testimonials. You have a beautiful layout. So really, it's just small adjustments that you need to make. You know, getting into your audience's mind, telling their story, telling your story, and then making sure that your testimonials are higher up in your page, okay? But great website, great work. Thanks for submitting. All right, so this is a landing page from Selena. And Selena, I'm assuming this is the landing page for a program that you're about to launch. So instead of asking the question, do you dream of opening your own store? Make sure that that's a strong headline, okay? So open your own store in 30 days, or open your own store in 60 days, or open your dream store in just 90 days, or build the life of your dreams by opening your own store. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that your promise is the headline, okay? Not just the question. Discover is a great word to use, so great job on using that there. Now, I would use step-by-step strategies instead of the word guide, only because guide sounds more passive in this case. And then here, I would brainstorm, what is the greatest obstacle that someone who wants to start a store has? Since I'm not your ideal customer, I can't answer that question, but you want to get into their head and think about what's really standing in the way. If it is competition, great, but I have a suspicion that it might be something more, and I would put that in this area instead. And then I would also just switch to headlines. Would you love to open your own boutique store but have no idea where to start? Imagine if there was a step-by-step guide that walked you through how to open your own store. So just switch these two headlines here. Make sure you have a stronger call to action. You want to show them exactly what they're getting. And then lastly, register your interest now. That wording is just a little bit bulky. So change it up. You can just say, get it now, or sign me up, or I want it. And then tell them exactly what the exclusive content is, because that's what's going to motivate them to opt into your list. You have to tell them what they're getting. Are they getting cheat sheets? Are they getting templates? Are they getting a video course? Are they getting interviews, trainings? Tell them what exactly it is they're getting, and that's what's going to increase your conversions, okay? All right, so great landing page. Thanks so much for submitting. And finally, we're on the last page of our workshop. This is from Bhavna. Okay. Bhavna, I'm just making sure that I have all of your details here. Okay, there we go. All right. So Bhavna, I'm starting on your Coach Me page. Okay, that's the page I decided to review. And first off, I just want to say, beautiful page. I love the colors, very vibrant. I love the logo. Okay, it's very feminine. You've got a great call to action. Great job on using the word accelerate. That's another golden word for people to use. I know you don't have a lot of space here, but if there's another call to action somewhere on your website, I'd just explain what is the free ebook exactly. So what's it going to do for your audience? Will it give them tips to build a six-figure career? Will it teach them how to have balance? Tell them what the ebook is. So, you know, I know you don't have a lot of space here unless you maybe wanted to get rid of this area, but just tell people in some other form, on some other opt-in form, what exactly that ebook is and why they want it, okay? One thing I did note was the spacing here. I'm not sure if that's your template or your website does that a lot throughout your copy. I'm not sure why, but just double check your spacing for some words because some of them are meshed together. Okay. But anyway, this is beautiful copy, Bhavna. It's well done. It's very inspiring, very uplifting. You do so well to touch on their pain points, especially, you know, the paragraphs about pain, you know, how it's something burning in them. That pain that you're experiencing right now is nothing but your potential unexpressed and your desires unfulfilled. That is beautiful writing, okay? You show them what's possible. You can tell that you really care about them here and that you're genuine. And for those watching and listening, this is a great example of setting the scene and why setting the scene is so important. This is your chance to draw people in, to show them that you care, and to position yourself as the expert they need to lead them to the promised land. So this is storytelling at its best. I highly recommend you to head on over to Bhavna's website, read her copy because it is excellent, it's inspiring, it's uplifting, it's exactly what I mean when it comes to setting the scene and getting into your audience's mind and laying down that foundation. So great job on breaking up the color with this layout that you had. This is a great template, beautiful template, okay? And then we're moving on. To the packages that you offer. So Bhavna, one thing I would say is to get rid of the word includes here. It kind of just sounds a little bit confusing there. I know you mean that this is what it all includes, but you don't really need it there because I think it's a given. Also, I would get rid of these words here, career clarity, career breakdown, career clarity, only because these two are the same. So it kind of throws people off and confuses them because they think they're the same package. So instead, I would just have silver package, gold package, or platinum package. Or I would get rid of silver, gold, and platinum and just rename them. So for instance, this can be career clarity, this can be career up level, and this can be career breakthrough. So either rename them all up here or get rid of the names and then just have silver, gold, and platinum. Okay, now we get into more about you. So with 15 years of experience, again, this is an example of that spacing issue that I just mentioned, but you do a great job by using your TED Talk picture. This is a credibility booster, okay? Great job with that. Well done. Now, I just wanted to let you know that when I click on your bio, it actually just brings me back to the coaching page. I don't know if you have a separate bio, a separate about page, but I just wanted to let you know that that link doesn't seem to be working. Also, that's a 5-minute tweak for everyone. Make sure that you're bringing people to the right place with your links. Make sure that you're checking all of your links, because the last thing you want to do is be sending people to the wrong place, right? But Bhavna, what I would really love to see is your bio just right here. This is a perfect place for your bio. You know, you talk a little bit more about your principles and the things that you bring to the table. And after that, I would just love to learn more about you. So remember, don't make your audience work hard for the information that they want. So, you know, put a picture of yourself here on the left, and then tell us more about your background, about your credentials, about the places where you've been featured, about the stages where you've spoken, about the people you've worked with. You know, what has your journey looked like, and what has brought you to this point in your life? So this is a great place where you're going to do that, because people want to learn more about you, especially if they want to hire you as their coach. Now, as for testimonials, I'm assuming that this is probably a plugin. I'm not sure if it goes by itself or if the people have to click through it in order to see the testimonials. But what I would like to see, Bhavna, is that you just list the testimonials all at once. So instead of having this plugin that people have to click through, just list everything out all at once so that they can see everything up front. Because people, you know, they don't want to work hard for things. You know, you want to make the information as accessible as possible. Next, I would use the imagine element. So, you know, imagine living the life of your dreams. Imagine finally being able to do this. Imagine finally living like this. So make the next section your imagine section. And then you want to have a stronger call to action, okay? So this is where you close a deal. You pull on the last of the heartstrings. And one of the ways to do this after testimonials is something like, I can help you lead your dream life too. Or I can help you find success too. Or what I did for these people, I can do for you too. So let's book a session now, okay? You want to make sure that you're really closing the deal. And instead of contact me, make this text something like set up a free clarity call, or book a free session now, or whatever your intake process is, that's what you want this button to say, okay? And then make sure that when you are leading them to the contact form, don't make it just a generic form. Make it something that's more in-depth. You want to ask for their name, email address, phone number, Skype username. You want to ask them which package they're interested in. You want to offer a text box so that they can tell you more about what they're needing right now, about what they're looking for, and any other information that might be helpful, okay? But other than that, you know, just make sure this is a strong call to action with that button there. I know this is probably a part of your template. Otherwise, I would recommend just removing that. But, you know, great website, Bhavna, great colors. I love the layout. I love the scheme. Making those few adjustments will really enhance it and improve it, and you're well on your way. The only other thing I wanted to point out is that on your workshop page, your praise section, I think the plugin for your testimonials may not be working. So make sure that you double check that so that you can definitely show people your credentials, okay? So, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay. All right. And I am back on. It looks like someone asked, can you provide the links to the unbound resources when you get a chance? Absolutely. I will do that for sure. And I want to make sure that, Okay, thank you. Great feedback. This was some great feedback. Thank you. Okay, great. So Marlene, yeah, I will definitely provide a link to that Unbound resources. I know it's extremely helpful and a lot of people will find it helpful too. So I'm going to send that out along with the recording. The recording will go out later today. So just keep an eye on your email inbox and I will definitely get that to you. And if anybody else has any questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A box that is on the side of your screen. I'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions, whether it's about your own sales page or about what you have seen so far. And then remember, on my website, I provide more tips. If you join my newsletter, I call it the Secret Circle. You can see it at www.thestorytellersapothecary.com. Join the Secret Circle, and I provide all kinds of tips. The same things that I went over today and then some. I provide all of that to my list because I want to help people to create better sales pages. I want to help them to get their message out there and captivate their audiences and do the amazing work that they've been put on this earth to do. So definitely join my Secret Circle so that you can be in on that. And then remember, I talk all about these things in my new course, Spellbound, which you can also see on my website. So it looks like all of the questions have been answered. Okay. So I want to thank everyone who was a part of my workshop. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much as I talked about building that unshakable foundation with your message, that captivating online presence with your brand, and of course that passionate following with your messaging and with what you're putting out into the world. I'm so glad that you can be a part of the workshop. Thank you so much for attending, and keep doing that work that you're doing. Keep putting your message out there because people need it. And together, I really think that we can make some magic and change the world. So thank you again for listening in. And again, keep your eyes on the email for that recording. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.